peak for peak, shot for shot, Damian Lillard is a better player than Luka Doncic. He's 6'2". He can shoot and he's looking to lay roots. This man was offensive brilliance personified.
Lillard, long range three, and it's good!
In the 2019 season, having the ball in his hand as a pick and roll ball handler with Hassan freaking Whiteside was the most efficient play in the league. He was more deadly than the Giannis fast break, more demoralizing than the FU3, and more unguardable than the James Harden step back. But you know what? Maybe the fans don't care about stats or efficiency. You want moments. You want excitement. And maybe Lillard just doesn't provide that. But oh wait, if I ask you what that playoff series Lillard ended with a buzzer beater bomb, you're going to have to ask me which one.
Here's the issue.
Go for it, boss.
Lillard has moments because he doesn't have wins. That is the issue with his career. Obviously, on a championship level, he's never done it. He got to the finals once, I think the conference finals once. And there's a lot of things to unpack here. One, he played at the same time as Steph Curry. Mm-hmm. So what's his greatest claim? It's being the second greatest shooter of all time. You can debate it with Clay, but most people will give the respect to Dame because he had to do it as an actual first option off the dribble. So you're living in Curry's shadow. But not only that, Russell Westbrook. Damian Lillard, after LaMarcus Aldridge leaves, he becomes the clear de facto first option. Russell Westbrook is coming in and doing unprecedented things with the triple-doubles and also just that general vibe of best point guard on a small-town team leading them to victory.
But
right?
Lillard is absolutely better than Westbrook.
Absolutely. He was not better in the regular season at that time in terms of win contribution. Both statistically and just you watched it, you were in awe of what Westbrook was doing. And then James Harden comes in too. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on there where he came up at a time when three generational guards were dominating. And I think the main argument for that Damian could have had would have been a longevity type one, because I actually thought he got better with age. His early years, people try to give him credit for that, like the Halloween battle with Kobe Bryant and stuff. But LaMarcus Aldridge, to me, was the best player on that team.
What? No way.
All the success they had at that time.
His prime.
He was not past his prime. He played into his prime on Portland. Then 2016, he goes to the Spurs in free agency, and then he falls off soon after. The injuries didn't help. But Portland got pretty much the best LaMarcus years. And Dame was good. Don't get me wrong. He won Rookie of the Year. We're not talking about a scrub here. But he wasn't at a point in his career where they could actually put something together. They lost in the first round to the Memphis Grizzlies, beat the Houston Rockets, but then lost to the eventual champions, the Spurs. So just middling performance. And then you get into that 2016, 2017, 2018 era. Even when you do well, you're going crazy. You just run up into the Warriors. He lost to them twice, once without KD. So, you really can't get around that. And then you get into the later part of his career, right? Like you mentioned, 2019, great pick and roll. I actually thought the 2020-2021 year was his best when they go up against Jokic in the first round. He dropped 17 points in double overtime on 100% true shooting. Just amazing performance, and they can't win. It's not even enough to win in the first round. And a big part of it is, his supporting talent wasn't that amazing. Yusuf Nurkic was out, so he had Hassan Whiteside. Anthony Simons had been drafted by an incompetent GM, one of the worst guards in the league. Natural, he's a rookie. But he was getting 20 minutes a game and absolutely stinking it up. But at the end of the day, you got to see Dame, like you were saying, peak for peak, shot for shot. You got to see Dame do that and lose to Curry, Harden, and Jokic. I don't think those are really debatable. The only quote-unquote debatable one is Westbrook, and that's because of that playoff series. Westbrook had been dominating the regular season, had some of the greatest statistical performances that you've ever seen. And then in that playoffs, in that specific Game 5, Westbrook has like 29 points on 29 shots, horribly inefficient. That's really where the ball chucker and the ball hog and the chucker narrative started. But I want to look at that game that you're talking about with the game winner. Do you know Lillard had 32 points at halftime with 5 threes made, but with 5 minutes left to go in that game in the fourth quarter, they were down 10. And that's a big issue for a lot of Lillard teams. The reason he has these buzzer beaters, the reason he has these 50, 55, 60-point game narrow wins or even losses is because of the defensive identity that the Portland Blazers never had because of him. That's a big issue when you look at his career and one of the reasons why he was never really at the tip top and never really won. And then to specifically answer your ridiculous Luka assertion, Luka by like 2023 to 2024, I think it's like his third or fourth year in his career, surpassed Dame. And every year he just plays, he's better than Dame. Now, If you want to say, let's say Luka's career stops right now, you probably give it to Dame for the longevity. But Luka's peak is already higher than Dame's peak, and Luka is still growing. Like I said, Dame started in 2012. He didn't really hit his peak until 8 years into his career. I think Luka's going into his 6th, maybe 7th.
I think he's going into 8th year. He's played 7 seasons.
Okay, 7 seasons. I mean, he's had some injuries through that time. I would say Dame was relatively more healthy. Luka still has a year or two more to hit his peak, if not longer. And then, so he's just going to be farming more of these years where he's better than Dame. So for me, Luka is absolutely better than Dame right now. Luka's peak is better than Dame ever was. He probably will go down as a better and greater player than Dame. And I think it's just nonsensical. And I think Dame is a very easy person to root for. He seems like a great guy. And just everything about him is great. I love his music too. But the argument that he's peak for peak, shot for shot, better or greater than players like Luka, Curry, Harden, it's just not true. I 100% disagree with you.
Cool. The only player I will give you that is better than Damian Lillard is Steph Curry. Full stop.
James
That's
Harden?
it. I don't know. Okay, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, they both have MVP that Lillard doesn't. But I think narratives and team success play such a huge role. First of all, the teams Damian Lillard was given were god-awful. If you would play with Kevin Durant, if you were on any of the Rockets team, pair him with CP3. Even Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic played with Porzingis, Bunsen Burner, and Kyrie Irving. That year they went to the finals. You're talking about defense? Luka started putting some effort on defense, and all the NBA fans were on their knees thanking God that he locked in for a little bit. When really the whole reason that Mavs defense was such a monster was they had dudes like Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, and all those role players made a real cohesive defense to make up for Luka. Same thing with Curry. He was terrible on defense, bad ankles, getting pushed off his spot before he got jacked. Respect to that. But the team played around him. Literally, there are videos analyzing the art of making sure your worst player doesn't get absolutely bodied by other stars like LeBron and James Harden and Westbrook. Lillard didn't enjoy that level of personnel around him, that level of coaching, that level of front office competency, not being given anything. Okay, and here's what he's done in his career. He leads the NBA with 132 made threes in clutch time. He has 10 game winners in the final 5 seconds before 2012. And you try to paint it as, yeah, this guy's bad, can't play defense, he bailed himself out at the end of the game. No, that's what happens when you have a bad team and you got to put them on your back. Okay, it's not that easy, especially being at 6'2". Like, the only guy who was tasked with carrying teams that bad and doing it better than Lillard did was LeBron James, the GOAT or number 2 in the league. So,
What?
no, like,
Dude, CP3.
Lillard's best. Okay, fine, CP3, but he's a point guard. He's an undisputed top 5 point guard of all time. No one's giving Lillard that credit. No one's putting Lillard in the top 5 or top 10 point guards of all time. And if they were, they wouldn't be saying slander like Luka Doncic is better than Lillard.
Who's
Luka's
a better passer?
absolutely
Who's
not
a better
at that level
passer?
yet.
Who's a better
Luka.
passer, Dame or Luka?
Luka.
Who's a better scorer, Dame or Luka?
Lillard.
You think Lillard?
Yes.
Okay, the first time Lillard broke 30 points a game was like year 9 of his career. Like
Okay.
I said, the back half. Luka's been dropping 30 a game since damn near his second year in the league.
Okay, that is a valid point, but the way Lillard took time to ramp up, I was saying peak for peak. When Lillard was in his final form, he had 2 years where he was his pick and roll, because I mentioned 2019, but the same thing repeated in 2022. He was the most, him having the ball in his hands, running a pick and roll, and you know what he likes to do. He's not CP3 who spams his roll man and hits lobs. He's sinking deep key threes, logo shots, pull-up jumpers from the 3 and midi, going for layups. And then his big men, there's not much to be said about them. Like I said, Hassan freaking Whiteside. So he's doing all this and being the most deadly player in the league at least 2 years. So even though Lillard took more time to ramp up, and I know in the future Luka is going to definitely have a better career, and that's why it irritates me for people to say right now Luka is better, because he's absolutely not earned it. This dude can't even get in shape and play defense for 80.
Luka's more talented.
For 82
no
games
that.
in the season. And they're trying to say he's better than him. But he's just not.
No, of course he's better. If your argument is that Dame is easier to root for or
no,
more of
it's
an
not easy to
everyman
root
thing,
for.
that makes more sense.
For peak, Luka is better. I know.
You just admitted it.
I'm getting the L's confused. Get out of here, brother. I'm getting the L's confused.
Yeah, you're taking Luka Doncic.
Lillard's peak is still better than Luka. He still hasn't reached that point yet.
I just don't see it. I think Luka's a better scorer. He's a better passer. Now, here's something I'll give you. This is a general thing you have to bring up with these arguments. Luka is better at defense. It's not really debatable. But it's not because he puts in significantly more effort. He has more natural physical attributes. If a 6'8 guy puts in a decent amount of effort and a 6'2 guy puts in a decent amount of effort, the 6'2 guy is way easier to pick on. So you can try to justify it like that, but that is the reality of it all. That Luka's peak you still couldn't really pick on him on defense. And he was giving you equal, if not better, in my opinion, offense. Dame was a liability. And it didn't help, by the way. You're talking about his bad teams. Just like Giannis does for the Bucks, everything ran through Dame. You have to take some responsibility as being almost a co-GM. That's why LeBron, love it or hate it, he never was willing to do Dan Gilbert or Pat Riley or Rob Pelinka or any of these other GMs just carte blanche, do what you want. He said, no. It's my legacy on the line. No one's going to remember your name. No one cares about you. You just get paid, and then everyone critiques me for the team, for the members that I have joining the team, and then what the gameplay looks like. Dame is the one who wanted CJ McCollum that whole time. CJ McCollum was worse than LaMarcus Aldridge, and he was worse than a lot of the second options in the league. He was clearly built to be a third option, but Dame wanted to keep him around as a second option. You get Trevor Ariza. This 2020-2021 season where I think Dame had his peak, why did you get Trevor Ariza? Anyone who really knows what they're doing knows that he was a decent player on the Rockets, but he started falling off after 2016-2017. And you got a net negative player to join your team, and you were paying him a decent amount of money. Anthony Simons being drafted is ridiculous. You needed to put your foot down. You needed to leave right then and there and not waste a single more moment with the Blazers, because what are we doing drafting this guy? We're wasting your prime on drafting a project guard who to this day in 2025 is maybe barely a starter player on a bad team. Like, what are we doing there? And then, yeah, they had Nurkic. They got unlucky. He was injured. I'm a big Nurkic fan. I think they could have done more if they had him. But in general, a lot of the things you're talking about with bad rosters, you got to put some blame on him for that. And then as for the moments thing, yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. That's the same thing with MJ. He doesn't have that many Game 7s because his team won before the Game 7. And you can talk about, oh, he had the good team or whatever, but that's how your legacy gets judged. Your main argument for Dame is that he has all these game winners. Well, it's disingenuous to not bring up the fact that he has game winners because they could not put teams away. That's just the reality. And that's why players like Paul George are better than Dame too, by the way. I don't know if you know.
Lillard is Lillard is definitely better than Paul George.
Paul George, now here's the thing. Relative to other, if you want to talk relatively, I'll give you the argument for Dame in a second. But just absolute in a vacuum, you want Paul George on your team over Dame on your team if your goal is to win a chip. And here's why. Here's a big reason why. Paul George can be your first option. And the only guy he was losing to was LeBron. He can be your second option. Or he can be your third option. And he can play both sides of the ball. And he went through significantly more injuries than Dame did. That's another thing. Where we're talking about rewinding the career and you don't know what's going to happen, PG also has more potential. Okay? And here's the argument for Dame. Because most guards are bad at defense, you can make the argument like, well, PG was still like the 8th best forward and Dame was like the 4th best guard. Yeah. That's the argument you want to make. But I'm just saying, people disrespect players like PG who are still playing and are better than Dame right now, and you want to glaze Dame, and I think that's
PG
just crazy.
Is not better than Dame right now. PG, the dude talking about being bored playing center while his team is Buns Thunder, okay? At least Dame, he just went through an Achilles tear. If luck didn't go his way, if the Bucks roster was better, if he didn't have to play under freaking Doc Rivers, maybe we're talking differently about his stint with Freak Time and the Milwaukee Bucks.
So everything is just blaming everything around Dame. It's the coach, it's the rosters, it's
he's
the teams.
A hooper. When you look at his body of work, he's getting shit done.
He's losing in the second round. That's his body of work.
Because his teams, bro. If Damian Lillard was on that Warriors squad, Steph Curry, he's winning chips. If he's playing with KD, that Thunder team's winning chips.
No.
If he's playing on the Houston Rockets with CP3, they're winning chips. Okay, the Super Team Warriors warps thing. But for example, you also want to talk about Damian Lillard losing. What is Luka done? Remember, the original premise of this argument is because you're moving to PG, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. I meant Luka Doncic because this is a good comparison where both sides have arguments. Luka has done nothing but lose. He made it to the finals when he finally got a team that was good, a luxury never afforded to Lillard, and then gets absolutely thundered by the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, the Boston Celtics have some of the most greatest statistics of all time.
Gang, it's Jaylen Brown. Watch.
Jason Tatum.
It's Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown took him on the pick and roll, stripped him like taking candy from a baby, and then yammed it on his team on the other side. Wasn't Jason Tatum, wasn't Derek White. Game 1, first possession, Jaylen Brown set the tone and imposed his will on Luka. 2 years later, people still think Jaylen Brown is anywhere near as good as Jason Tatum. Do you know how insane that is?
I will give you that series wasn't great for Luka, but one of the issues was Jaylen Brown got to do all that because Derek White Al Horford. Everyone is terrorizing all the other options on Dallas. You are really able to lock in on Luka. One of the things that helped Dame on Portland, you're not giving enough credit, is so they had a trash defense.
Yes.
Everything they were doing was to try and make a better offense. You look at CJ McCollum, for example. You can't tell me that Dame didn't benefit from having a knockdown shooter as a second option. You couldn't play him the way Jalen played Luka, right? Imagine Luka could just kick it to prime CJ McCollum. And remember, the defenses they're not playing were not like Boston Celtics level. That's benefiting Dame. You're not talking about that. Like, of course you're dropping so many points and you're getting extra assists because Dame wasn't that great of a passer. You mentioned it yourself, the way he attacks the pick and roll. His assists are not equal to CP3 assists. His assists are not Tyrese Halliburton assists. They're a little faker.
No, honestly, I don't think they're faker than Tyrese Halliburton had assists where he kicks it ahead and the dude just lays it in.
Bro, he literally makes the whole play. It's his pace that allows it.
I understand his pace, and I'm not trying to take away from anything Tyrese Halliburton. But if you want to compare the quality of an assist, Lillard's assist who's under the basket getting double teamed is kicking out to the corner.
Yo, let me ask you now. Who's better right now, right before the Achilles here, right?
Okay.
Dame or Tyrese Halliburton?
Right now, they probably would have to get Tyrese Halliburton.
Okay. No, but even before the run. Even before the run, who would you have said?
Before even Lillard had the Achilles tear, last year he had Achilles strain. Like he was straining his calf. And don't forget, 2 years before that, as Lillard is coming to his own, as he hit this peak where he's terrorizing the 2022-2023 season, he tears his abs. Like he gets an oblique tear.
Yeah.
And as we saw with Paolo Banchero, it's like a 6-month recovery timeline. He missed most of the season. So he got a major injury right as he's hit that peak, and he's another peak, really, because 2019, then 2022. And in between those two peaks, do not forget, we had the pandemic.
And I will say, during the pandemic, he was going crazy.
Yeah,
but
the
then
bubble
the Lakers
MVP.
just broke him. But here's another issue that's hurting Dame's legacy. All these things you're bringing up, the man whose shadow Dame's been living under this whole time, who is it? Steph Curry.
Yeah,
Look at Steph Curry.
But he's the second greatest point guard of all time. That's why I don't understand. I get that he's under a shadow, but he's under the shadow of the second best point guard of all time.
But that's exactly.
Luka's under nobody's shadow, but he ain't sniffing top 5 small forward of all time right now.
That's one of the things with Luka is because he's such a good passer, you just labeled him as a small forward because of his height. But he's really playing the point guard for your team in terms of usage, in terms of passing,
forward,
how much he's dribbling. So it's just like Magic. We don't compare Magic to the small forwards.
Well, Magic played as a point guard. Luka is slotted as a small forward.
But on the team, his play style, bro, like he's trying to do the same things Dame is doing.
Okay.
Go out and get 30, go out and pass the ball, shoot some threes. And he's just naturally better because of his height. And I think to the Dame point with Curry, that's always been a thing. That's what hurts the Clyde Drexlers of the world.
That's what I'm saying, though. There's second fiddle, but there's second fiddle to some of the greats of the league. So the other dudes who aren't in anybody's shadow, but literally just aren't as good. Like if Luka was bringing up in the same era as Dame,
Luka would have won a chip.
No,
Luka would have won a chip.
Dude, he
100% would have won a chip on Portland.
He lost to the Golden State. I want to say 2022. That year, the Golden State won the chip. The Mavs, they destroyed the Suns, the Phoenix Buns, really, and then they go against the Warriors. This is Steph Curry, washed Klay Thompson, no KD, old Draymond Green, and Luka gets bodied. And Luka still gets bodied.
Bro,
so literally,
that's so disingenuous.
Curry been sunning dude since Lillard's day to Luka's day. So
that's so disingenuous, bro. You said old Draymond Green.
Yes.
Draymond Green right now almost won the DPOY. Luka had to go against him 3 years ago when his knees still had cartilage in them.
Okay, but still, Klay was washed. And that would just Curry on his own.
He was less washed then. Like Dame had opportunities. Like he got to go against Jokic 3 or 4. Like right now it's probably Jokic's prime, right? He got him right near the beginning of the prime. So why is the argument going towards Dame?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. The reason it goes towards him, because I think they beat Denver.
They lost. They lost that series.
To lose to Denver, he had to do LeBron James 2019 stuff. 2019 stuff. He dropped 55 on Denver's head on 97% true shooting in an entire playoff game. We're going to pull the clip up when the video drops. When he missed, he had Austin Rivers looking up to God and saying, thank you, please, we needed this.
And you just admitted that he played on a team that had Austin Rivers on the roster. You making these roster arguments. And by the way, I just want to go back to one of your earlier points.
You tried to Austin Rivers on.
You tried to say Dame was second fiddle. No. Everyone knows who was the second best point guard of the 2010s. Or guard.
Lillard.
It was Curry one.
It's Curry, Lillard,
James Harden. You know
Harden,
it's James Harden.
Harden shooting guard.
It's a guard.
Harden
It's a
shooting
guard.
Oh, guard.
Everyone thinks about guards like combined, especially without James Harden was dropping 35 in a season.
I can give you Curry, Harden. Okay, you know maybe forgive me for my passion. I said Lillard was better than Harden. I think Lillard's better, but I take Lillard over Westbrook any day. I don't care about the stats. I look at the game. I look at who's a hooper, and Lillard will contribute more to you winning than Westbrook.
I think as a hoop, I see your argument there, and I see the playoffs moments.
Three-level scorer who can run the pick and roll like a freaking maestro.
But what
besides
hurts,
CP3,
what hurts him is that you were talking about iconic moments, bro. Russell Westbrook has an iconic season.
Okay,
they were quoting Oscar Robertson. They were like, bro, I don't even know what this guy looks like. So as far as I'm concerned, he's making history. I was hating on him that entire season. I really felt like some of it was empty calories. But at the end of the day, you look at the roster Russell Westbrook around had him, bro. It was, what was his name? Andre Roberson.
Roberson, get that right.
That 10% three-point shooting from the corner. If you give any player, like you see how KD gets frustrated? He'd be talking on Twitter. He was getting frustrated with his teammates. You give that man a corner shooter who shoots 10%, you know what he does? He leaves for the Warriors. You know how I know? Because he did it. Nope. He was not putting up with that roster anymore. And Russell Westbrook stayed, and I think a lot of the love you're showing Dame, I agree with it, but Russell Westbrook is also fighting for that share of small-town guy, and he's just holding it down for you.
Yeah, you mentioned that initially, and you're bringing it back with respect, but at the end of the day, I think Lillard will contribute more to winning because Westbrook didn't have a shot.
Westbrook was more physical. He was obviously a much better physical specimen, and that made his defense better for that 2 or 3 years.
But his defense was bummed because he over gambled for steals.
I think nowadays you can say that, but he was so athletic at that time that it was still fine. I think it's very. I'm gonna say this just to be clear. Russell Westbrook was a better defender from like 2014 to 2018 than Damian Lillard.
Okay.
Out of all the top guards, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Curry, maybe any other names I'm forgetting, Dame is probably the worst defender out of all of them. Not only was he lazy, he had no real instincts, talent, or like there was no saving credibility. He was probably a bottom 10% defender.
But this is my point. Like, you're not wrong, but let's get honestly 24 to 2018. No, I think Curry and Lillard go band for band for the worst defender.
No.
Lillard 6'2", Curry 6'3". Westbrook, physical specimen. Harden is 6'6" and jacked. So those two shouldn't even be compared to those two. The only reason right now we're saying Lillard is way worse than Curry is because the teams around them. Curry has Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr's a fraud, dude. Okay, right now he's a fraud, but he invented the art of protecting your worst player and using elite defensive personnel from preventing from your team getting blown out on the defensive end. Lillard didn't have the personnel or coach, which I mentioned at the beginning, and it stays true. So, like Curry and Lillard, they go band for third worst defender out of those 4 guards of the 2010s era.
No, I disagree. I think people have made that narrative about Curry, but you got to remember, when was he getting picked on? In the finals. You needed players with the IQ of LeBron, the ability of Kyrie. These are the kind of players who are trying to pick on Curry. Everyone was taking advantage of Dame. Everyone could get it, bro. Everyone. Like, that's exactly and I'm not gonna say that he was the best player on those Blazers teams. Let's not make this disrespectful. But I just think everyone talks about the Curry defense issue because when you're witnessing greatness, your job is to criticize. Your job is to be like, well, why didn't they win every chip? Why didn't they win every game? And that's valid. But no one's even bothering to do that for those Dame years. That's what I'm trying to bring you back to reality because you're looking at it with rose-tinted glasses, bro. And it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
My glasses are not tinted, but this is gonna bring this debate to a close. Viewers watching, let us know in the comments. Am I delusional? Is he a Lillard hater? Let us know your thoughts.